Welcome, everybody, to another live edition of the Market Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Danny Hernandez, Chad Big Bad Johnson, and Ring of Honor's own John Cena guy, a.k.a. James DeSanti. I want to get a quick thing out of the way really quick. Obviously, my attire is a bit different. I'm not wearing a sports-related thing this week, so just nobody worry. It's not a big deal. But we got a lot to cover on Dynamite this week, because so much shit happened in the go home episode before Revolution. And before we can even get to the actual wrestling part of this, James, Tony Khan with the announcement that he has purchased basically in perpetuity all of Ring of Honor, the wrestlers, the branding, the very deep library. This is a huge announcement, to the point where he actually showed up on screen for, I think, only like the third time in the speaking role since AEW has started.
I think it was said to be the second, but that's who cares.
Sorry, I think Tony, it's the Brody Lee one, and then he basically told Kenny off at one point where he was like, "You're having a match."
That was off screen.
Oh, was it really?
He yelled at him behind the door, but I don't care.
No, that was Mox. I'm sorry, I'm not to argue, but go ahead.
Doors are being opened, their walls are being smashed down. It doesn't matter. Tony Khan did what Vince McMahon did 20 years ago, maybe a little different. I don't care. Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor for everything that means. Emotionally, this is a lot for me. Ring of Honor is the company that showed me what wrestling is. It showed a lot of fans what wrestling is. It brought together the best independent wrestlers on the scene and had them wrestle on its card on a monthly basis. That's where the world was introduced to Bryan Danielson. That's where the world was introduced to CM Punk. That's where the world was introduced to Samoa Joe. We've had names like AJ Styles go through it. Red Dragon went through it. Adam Cole went through it, baby. If you are a major name in the early 2000s, you wrestled in Ring of Honor if you were on an indie. And throughout the last few years, we've seen Ring of Honor hasn't been held to the same esteem it once was. Whether we want to blame the pandemic or we want to blame, if we're being kind of honest, AEW for Ring of Honor's fall from grace. It was hard to be a Ring of Honor fan these last 5 years. With this purchase, we don't know what it means. We don't know if Tony Khan is going to keep Ring of Honor running as a separate brand from AEW. We don't know if Tony Khan is going to have Ring of Honor running at all with talent. We don't know if anybody's going to be contracted to Ring of Honor. It might just be an indie or a come as you can kind of company where you just have talent show up to Ring of Honor. Maybe he uses it as a farm system for AEW. We don't know. But this company now, those three letters, ROH, mean more today than they did yesterday. And that's fantastic. More than anything, and I've been saying this for weeks, I've been saying it once the rumors started, it isn't about what he does with the Ring of Honor of today or what he does with Ring of Honor tomorrow. What's important here, what's the true prize, is that Tony Khan now owns Ring of Honor's library. Tony Khan owns every amazing match that Ring of Honor ever had, and in a world where AEW is looking to be on a streaming service at some point, adding to your catalog, adding to your library is amazing, especially when so many of the stars you have today at one point appeared in Ring of Honor. I mentioned it when we were talking a couple weeks ago when they announced the dog collar match between Punk and MJF, how it's so important historically because Punk rose to prominence in his dog collar match with Raven. Well, guess where that match happened? Ring of Honor. Now we could go back. They could reference that. They could show that footage to show young CM Punk bleeding like he did tonight on Dynamite. We'll get to that later, spoiler. But they could go back and they could show that, and it'll mean so much more. WWE has its streaming with Peacock. WWE has its massive library, and it has its massive catalog that it has from buying companies' libraries like AWA. When it bought WCW, when it bought ECW, it has its massive catalog. Now AEW is building its own, and it's doing it with stars that are currently in its roster. This is a win. I don't know. I know Tony has a history of overhyping things, and maybe this is a little bit of an overhype, maybe, but regardless, this is still huge news, and AEW is the better for it, and I think Ring of Honor is the better for it now too.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole lot to digest. Obviously, there's not just the catalog, but the future as well. I will say that him now having this catalog does make him much more attractive to something like HBO Max, which was actually a rumor that this announcement might be, that they might have a streaming deal coming out of this. That still could be in the cards. We don't know. It's been bandied about by a lot of people. But Chad, it's like I said, there's a lot here. So I'll basically give you the floor to say your piece on it really quick. But I think it is very interesting that there are a lot of former Ring of Honor wrestlers, not even ones like the Bucks and Cole and even Hangman Page and people like that, but people who have just recently left after Ring of Honor's apparent reinvention, or what we thought was going to be the reinvention by Sinclair. But now, we have those guys like Jay Lethal and even Danhausen who are now under a contract for AEW that Tony could send back if he wanted to help build the brand back up.
As I've said in the group chat, Tony is playing chess. This, regardless of how you feel about ROH or indie darlings or indie wrestling, period, this is a huge step. It's almost monumental. Now, I cannot, of course, come up with the conclusion or see how everything is going to work out. But regardless, end of the day, I don't want to say consolidating, because I'm thinking we're going to get a resurgence of ROH, but you taking on another company when you're already a huge established company, it makes all the sense in the world to me. Like I said, it's like when WWE got ECW as an acquisition. I think this is a beautiful, beautiful plan. I'm with you guys. I see the streaming coming. I have to agree with Eric on one note. I don't ever want to hear Tony Khan speak again. The speaking voice is not attractive. However, everything else I'm with. I'm excited.
I kind of feel bad for Tony because he's good in interviews. Like, I've seen him on Dan Levichard's show a few times, and he's usually very good there. But I think he goes out there with so much adrenaline, he looks like he just did an 8-ball of coke, and like he's just like twitching with excitement. And so yeah, maybe he's not the best promo, but he is a decent speaker. So, but no, again,
he speaks very eloquently.
Yeah, but that's
apologies in advance.
But that's not his role, and he doesn't want it to be. So, in the off chance he goes out there and has to speak in front of a few thousand people, and he gets nervous, I'm gonna cut him a little bit of slack. Danny, I'm also sitting here laughing because James has mentioned the multitude of AEW guys that are on AEW, or that were on Ring of Honor rosters, but you also have guys like Steen and Generico, where AEW now owns their back catalog too. So I find that fairly interesting as well. But I'm curious to just hear your general thoughts on this acquisition by Tony Khan.
Like James is about to cut me off, so I'll let that
go. Danny, I'm so sorry. I'm going to cut you off. I don't know why El Generico has anything to do with WWE.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah. He's down in Tijuana with the orphans, and that he's doing God's work, but it has nothing to do with WWE.
Well, you know what? I said Steen, and I just immediately said Generico afterwards. That's a habit.
I understand now.
You're absolutely right.
Let's keep Danny. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's an easy mistake to make. You pair those guys up, it makes sense. I do want to say Tony Khan is good at speaking in media scrum interviews, not necessarily in a ring in front of the crowd on a mic. So it's two different types of speaking skills. He has one, not so much the other. But yeah, there's a lot of WWE guys in there too. Or someone who is maybe going to WWE soon. He had some time in Ring of Honor too.
What's his name?
I can't remember for the life of me. I want to say Stardust, but I don't know where I got that from. That's an item in Pokemon you can sell for $1,000.
Wow. Wow, that's true.
But
And Pogo too. You need it in
I
Pogo.
think you guys, you know what? There might be some cool things. Also, what's up to Dragoon of the West? Can't wait to hear your terrible opinions on things. But this was more of the big takeaway from this is now that Tony Khan has the footage and the rights to All In. Like he owns that pay-per-view now. After all these years, not being able to show it or really, not having the rights to it, he has it now. He can do whatever he wants with it. To my friends who have every AEW pay-per-view on DVD, they can add All into that collection now. It's I think that's the biggest part of that. It's really just it's really just Tony Khan buying more of his toys. It's literally like, this is like, these were my toys before they were my toys. I want it, and now he has it. And maybe it turns into developmental. We'll see. I'm willing to let this ride out because I have no idea what's actually going to happen. But he's got All In, and that's all that I care about right now.
To go off what Danny was saying, another toy for him to play with. This was a very expensive toy by all accounts. We were hearing numbers anywhere from 30 to 40 million. I don't think we're ever going to find out what he actually paid for.
It was allegedly valued between 30 and 40 million before the sale.
So if that's the ballpark in which he spent that money, granted, Tony is a billionaire. That money to him isn't that much, which is terrifying to say. But beyond that, if you're going to spend that type of money, because Tony Khan is working on a budget that he's imposing on himself, if you're working with a budget and you're going to spend 30 to 40 million dollars, you have to have plans for that. That's not just to say, well, look at this, I own it, Vince doesn't. He's doing that because he has a vision, and typically when Tony Khan has a vision, we all benefit.
True. Unless it's the Jaguars.
We wrestling fans benefit.
Fair play. A couple of things, I guess, before we go here. Yeah, he definitely did buy it for shits and giggles. I think he does have a plan, and we're going to talk more about this on the the podcast proper. So be sure to tune in. We'll probably even get a clip out probably by the end of the night with the rest of our thoughts, more probably involving our speculation for the future. I will say this though, especially now that they have this Hall of Fame class, and we didn't even get into the fact that the Briscoes are probably going to be in AEW, but I can very much see Samoa Joe showing up now since he's going into the Hall of Fame class. So that's exciting. But like I said, we have a lot more thoughts on this that we will get into on the pod itself. So
Can we
not if Danny has his way.
Dragoon of the West, because he thinks Adam Cole is mid.
No.
First of all, we all love and care about Dragoon, but sometimes he's stupid. And beyond that, I would rather focus on another comment, which is that he's hoping that this ROH acquisition gets us a New Japan AEW event. I think we are inching towards that. We are getting closer and closer to that every day. And yes, I don't think you're going to have anybody argue with that.
I think we've been inching towards it, and this is the first actual step towards it, as opposed to inching. This is
Fair point.
I would even contend that we might even get an AEW/ROH, New Japan, and maybe even an Impact. Some Impact guys in there too.
I appreciate that. That's so cute. No, it's not going to happen.
You don't think so? Because Impact has been crossing over a lot with New Japan, and they have the Ring of Honor guys there too.
You're forgetting that I think I am 1/10 of the Impact audience, and as much as I want it, I haven't been rewarded at all these last few years. So I'm trying to be realistic. This is one of those, I'm usually a glass half full person. I'm just surprised there's a glass at this point.
You couldn't see Chris Bay showing up at one of those shows? If there was a Ring of Honor, New Japan, AEW show?
Let me ask you this. If Jay White shows up to this show, is he representing Impact or is he representing New Japan?
Well, he's representing New Japan.
And he's representing Bullet Club, which it feels like its own thing right now. But I feel like if Chris Bay shows up, it's not because he's representing Impact, he's representing Bullet Club.
Right, but it's still representation of
That's
so,
fair. That's fair.
I don't think it'd be like an insane amount of dudes, but I could definitely see a few of them showing off. It just makes sense.
Possibly.
If Tony
Yeah.
Khan gets drunk enough, he might just buy Impact.
Give him a couple of White Claws, and he's just like, "I'll buy it from you guys."
Who's to say?
Like Tony Khan isn't a truly man.
Oh, the Reddit seems to think he's a White Claw guy. But all right, like I said, we have a lot more to get to on that in the pod, and we'll have that clip out later tonight if you want to watch it. But let's move on to the actual wrestling part of the show, which started with the original Ring of Honor main event. Christopher Daniels making his in-ring return against one Bryan Danielson. They started off very nicely with the Ring of Honor handshake. Actually, I believe the referee, whose name I'm forgetting off the top of my head, forgive me, he was also a part of that main event, which I thought was a nice touch. Like I said, they started off with the handshake. This is a very good, technically sound match between CD and Bryan. It ended eventually where CD went for the best moonsault ever. Bryan countered it into the triangle choke. And then, as he is wont to do recently, held on after CD passed out. Bryan then made a mockery of the post-match handshake where he shook an unconscious Daniels' hand and then proceeded to stomp his head in. Called out Moxley by saying he was going to kick Moxley's head in. Moxley came out and said, "I ain't fucking happening, bro." Basically challenged Bryan to give him his best shot. Bryan pretended to do that, rolled out of the ring, and left. So a lot there, but I thought it was first very cool, Danny, that they did this Ring of Honor tie-in match. I thought, like I said, I thought it was a good, fun match. And then I thought we had a nice setup going in to Revolution on Sunday with Moxley and Bryan, because Moxley looked crazed.
I loved the match. I thought it was so fun. You almost forget, how good Christopher Daniels is because he's been there. He's been wrestling for so long, and he's kind of taken a back seat. But these are the perfect spots to use him in.
What is he, 50?
51.
Yeah. There was a match last year where Kazarian faced Moxley, and for some reason that stuck out to me so much as one of Moxley's best matches in AEW. And I feel like Daniels did the same thing here without really doing anything out of the ordinary. He just wrestled a standard match for Christopher Daniels and a standard match for Bryan Danielson, and it just turned into something so fun. I love the counter of the best moonsault ever. I love this use of Christopher Daniels. This is the kind of role you put him in. And yeah, I loved the handshake at the beginning. I love that Bryan, he was playing up to the crowd when he made his entrance. And in the beginning of the match, he was not being overtly heel. But once the match was over, went right back to normal. I'm not going to lie, though. I didn't love the post-match promos, mainly because it made it feel like this feud was about something else and not about them teaming up.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree.
And that worried me. I was like, because that's all I want is for this match because I think it's going to be the best match on the card on Revolution. So I just want it to be that, and then for them to team up because I'm so excited for whatever this can be going forward. And this promo didn't give me a lot of hope that that's what's going to happen.
James, I mean, you seem to agree with Danny. Please.
No, absolutely. I think Danny nailed it. This whole feud has been about them forming a union. And then Moxley's talking about how you want to beat me up and then have me vanish away or whatever he was saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, no, that is the opposite of what Bryan's been saying. Bryan doesn't want to fight you at all. He wants to, you're only fighting because you're saying you won't team with him if you don't fight. Right. And Bryan still wants to team with you after you fight. He just wants to say, I beat you in the process. So it didn't really make sense. I completely agree with Danny. It added heat to a situation that didn't need heat. And I don't know. And Danielson one, Danielson needs to come off more as a heel. I understand that, because the man is going to get cheered no matter what he does. He's that damn good. So that's why every match that he wins, he's flexing and he's doing his thing. That's why you beat up CD after the match. And that's why I think they had this little promo to try to just separate them more and have more of a division against them. But it goes against what the story's been. So I don't know. Like I'm back to where I was when this first started. I was way more into it last week and the week before, but now it feels just okay. Now it's just a feud, and I feel like Brian has to lose now. Like I feel like he has to, but I didn't feel that way last week. It's very interesting. I don't know.
Well, like, so what are the stakes then? I guess it would be the question, because we never really knew what they were. There was the, okay, we're gonna fight and then maybe we'll team up together, but it wasn't a like, oh, if Moxley wins, then they're gonna be together, and then if he loses, they're not. Like, there was never really like stakes to the match. Like there were, but there weren't defined stakes. Let me put it that way. Right. So then I don't want to say this defined them, Chad. I guess I'm still lost there, but I do agree with James that it definitely did try to add a little more of a bit of an antagonistic dichotomy between the two, and those are two very big words.
No, we got bring it in. No, I totally agree with you guys. I was kind of lost with the post-match shenanigans as well. I kind of was like, well, what exactly are we doing here? And I'm thinking, just like James now, Brian has to lose, kind of. But last week, I didn't see it as that. I have to shout you out, Rev, for saying Bryan Danielson for the first time ever.
Because if you look, every time I do, I'm reading it directly off my screen just to make sure.
First time ever in 20 plus episodes. But anyway.
Then also, can we shout out the announcers? Because I thought they were going to do way worse with Bryan Danielson and Christopher Daniels wrestling.
Yeah, that.
With JR in play. Yeah. With JR in play, it could always go wrong.
That's true.
Brian and CD.
I enjoyed the match. It was super fun. Daniels can still go, as we all knew, but now he's just going on TV.
I gotta say something based off of what Rev said. This wasn't even Daniels' like big return. He's been wrestling on Impact here and there.
That's true.
I think that just furthers what I was going on before. But I'm sorry.
In my defense, I did say AEW return.
Fine, fair enough.
There we go. The save.
Yeah.
God.
Well, yeah, and between that and scaring the shit out of people backstage, trying to be the director of personnel, he's been a busy guy. But let's move along here. We had a quick backstage promo with Darby and Sting, hyping up both the triple threat for Friday and then for the TNT Championship with Andrade and Sammy, who's the champ, who I should know, and then their match on Sunday. Chad, do you have a comment here?
Pick me.
Chad.
We have got to get Darby some promo classes. We have to. It's a must now. It was a little rusty before, but the further we get into it, it seems like he doesn't speak with any depth at all, and it's jarring.
Nah, you just gotta learn how to speak emo, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I absolutely know how to speak emo if I know how to do anything else.
You have to de-age yourself like 15 years and you'll get it.
I can't do that. Is it teenage angst?
It's something.
When's the last time you stepped on a skateboard?
It's been years.
All right, so that's what you need to do.
Listen to some Avril, and then I'll be all right.
I heard her new song's pretty good.
Jesus. We gotta put Chad in a pair of Daisy Dukes and some leggings, and he'll really feel it. He'll really get what Darby's all about.
No thanks.
I kind of agree. Like, I think, for the most part, when he does do a promo, they're much shorter than that. And this was one of his lengthier ones, at least in recent memory, surprisingly enough. So, yeah, after the first couple sentences, he felt a little shaky. But he got the point across, and it was just, like I said, a quick backstage thing to help promote the matches on Friday and Sunday. So then after that, we came back with the Casino Tag Team Royale, which is like the second tag team battle royale in 2 weeks, though this one was more, Royal Rumble setup. So we started with FTR, and then we had Top Flight returning as a tag team as Darius Martin came back. Finally, I was very excited to see them together once again.
It was my first time seeing him, actually.
Yeah, and he looked good.
He did.
Wow.
He looked very strong.
Yeah, they booked him very strong, as we will get to. I'm going to specifically name the third team as the Acclaimed because Caster had an amazing diss towards Glenn Jacobs as his last bar. Danny, just go. I know you want to say something. Go.
This had to hurt Danny specifically so much. Oh my God.
No, this was amazing. Dude, it's two different people. Kane and Glenn Jacobs aren't the same. Okay. I can separate the two. Chris Jericho's wife was at the Capitol riot. I don't hold that against him. Okay. I can separate the two fucking things.
Good dig, Danny. Good.
I don't think it is, but
if Caster can, reference these things, I feel like I can. But,
okay.
Oh my God. I love the Acclaimed so much.
Because you're not a cop.
I loved that they came out third and still Caster wrapped his entrance for this. And the fact that by the time they got in the ring, there was legit like 12 seconds before the next entrance.
True.
It was so good. He had a great line saying that, I think it was saying FTR or Top Flight is as popular as Glenn Jacobs' tweets, which, if you follow any sort of wrestling news, you know what he tweeted. If you follow Chris Jericho's Facebook page, you get a whole different perspective on what he tweeted. And I thought that was such a good dig, especially after him getting fucking censored last week. Bullshit. That I understand, but still.
I honestly kind of find it maybe better that, like, if they pre-record Rampage and they actually censor him, it probably gives them a little more clout, so to speak. So, but I'll just run down the list of the rest of the teams here really quick. We had Allen Angels in 10, Butcher and the Blade, Varsity Blondes, Bear Country, Santana Ortiz, who once again that did fucking dirty. Best Friends, Evil Uno and Grayson, the Young Bucks, the Wingmen, including the surprising Peter Avalon, which is nice to see.
Longer than the Ass Boys.
Well, I was gonna say the Ass Boys were next. Brock Anderson and Shotty Lee Johnson, and then 2.0 with the last two teams. And then my immediate note after that was there were a lot of fucking teams in this match, but it was nice to see a lot of dudes get a bunch of exposure. So some other notes from this, FTR and Top Flight lasted a really, really long time, which is nice to see. Danhausen showed up, came out from under the ring, cursed who I thought was his friend Evil Uno, but I guess Evil Uno isn't evil enough anymore, and helped Trent eliminate him. And then we had the last three teams were the Bucks, FTR, and Top Flight after 2.0, who had just been eliminated by Santana and Ortiz, eliminated Proud and Powerful. And Trent was then eliminated right after that. So then Dante eliminated Wheeler and himself by accident. Red Dragon came out and jumped Dax Harwood after the Bucks eliminated him. So then you had Darius and against the Young Bucks. Cutler made a save on Nick Jackson after it looked like Darius Martin had eliminated him. But then Nick went for a springboard and Darius threw Matt into Nick, who was then eliminated. And then after fighting out on the apron, Matt hit Darius with a low blow and a super kick to win. So now we have Red Dragon and the Young Bucks against Jurassic Express, who showed up at the end of the segment for the AEW Tag Team Championships on Sunday. I know I just threw a lot out there. But Chad, what did you think of this Battle Royal? Because I thought it was a lot better than last week's.
I swear to God, that is the first thing I said mid-match. I was like, oh, this for some reason works this week. That didn't work last week. Like I said, it was my first time seeing Darius, so that was great. I love seeing Danhausen. I saw Dark Order ×2, so I'm a happy camper. James called it last week with the winner. We knew the Bucks was going to win. But the pacing, I think it just shows how important pacing is. The pacing was so much better from last week that I did not mind this match at all. I was actually enthused. I liked it. I was hyped. It was good.
Yeah, I think a big part of that was not just them like probably booking it better, but it was the Royal Rumble style of the match itself, where they came in incrementally instead of just everybody being in there at once.
Starting in the ring. Yeah.
Yeah, this way they were able to pace everything better. People got their spots in when they came in, and it was just like I said, leaps and bounds better than it was last week. But James, you did call this. The Young Bucks did win. Now they are set up for the tag titles on Sunday.
I was really hoping to eat my words. I'm not going to lie. I am a huge fan of Top Flight. I am also a really big fan of Darius Martin. I was so disappointed when he got hurt because he was the guy that I saw a lot of potential in from that tag team. And then he got hurt, and we saw so much from Dante. Dante has been involved in a storyline basically since his brother left. He has always been doing something, and he's been booked very strongly to the point that I was worried Darius was going to get left behind. And tonight made me feel so much better. I was so relieved to see it. He looked good. It wasn't just that he was booked strong. He looked good. He looked like he didn't miss a step. And I was so happy for him. I was legitimately hoping for the upset. And I knew it would have messed up the story. I knew it would have messed up the dynamic that they have going into Sunday, but I didn't care. I was that behind him because of the performance he had. And beyond that, the Bucks needed to win, and I'm good with them winning. The match itself was great. I don't know how I feel. Like, I don't know why Red Dragon was out there other than to ham it up and to look heely. But it is what it is. I feel bad for Jurassic Express because they feel like they're an afterthought in this feud. They're the champions, and I care more about the Bucks versus Red Dragon. And we also know that I am almost 100% certain Jurassic Express is going to retain. But regardless of all that, I want to focus on this match. The match was a lot of fun, much better than last week. Very well said, Chad and Nick and Danny. I know you hate Dynamite, so you didn't watch it last week. But I have one complaint. I thought it was a great match. I'm so friggin' happy Peter Avalon was there. And Ryan Nemeth, too. Good for him.
Name is Nick Ziegler. Okay.
I don't know why I didn't.
And we'll get to it in a bit, but Benoni was on the match too. We had 3 out of the 4 wingmen on there.
I love that pretty Peter Avalon did better than Benoni did tonight. But beyond that, how do you have Danhausen come out in the same match that the Ass Boys are in and have nothing to do with it? How do you do that? I'm out here singing "I'm an ass boy," doo-doo, and I'm just waiting for Danhausen. I'm just waiting for it to happen. But no, he comes out to screw Evil Uno, who did nothing wrong in his life ever. And I don't know. I was disappointed. Great match. Big missed opportunity. Don't care. Great match. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah, I love Danhausen. And I have been very confused about his rollout in terms of not like what they've been doing with him in terms of him just like randomly popping out from under the ring and cursing people, but more in terms of why is he with the Best Friends? Like, other than like he's kind of friends with Orange Cassidy. Like, they have barely explained it. It's kind of weird. They did like a 20-second thing on BTE about it, but they haven't really truly explained what's going on.
The Best Friends became more of an island of misfit toys than the Dark Order should be. Like, I think the Dark Order should be that, but that's what the Best Friends has become with Statlander and Orange and to an extent Wheeler Yuta. I don't know what makes him. I think the fact that he's so normal makes him weird. But and now Danhausen. And you know, I still think he would be better off with the Dark Order, but I hope they justify it soon. I'm sure he's still got to be injured, which is why we haven't seen him do anything. But I don't know, a little bit more, just a little bit more. Otherwise, I don't know. They could have just waited. Yeah,
he's still kind of limping on that leg, so I don't know. Like, he definitely can't, or I don't want to say definitely, but he's probably not ready to wrestle yet. I'm also just a little upset he cursed Uno. They're friends. You don't. Excuse me, Evil Uno. Oh wow.
You're good.
That's a fine.
This.
But no, Evil Uno, is also very evil. So usually they hang out together, and it's funny, but it is what it is. Danny, outside of the Acclaimed, obviously, did you have any thoughts on this match? Did you think it was better than last week's?
Real quick shout out to Dragoon, who didn't know what Glenn Jacobs tweeted and then just Googled it.
I saw that too.
I thought this. I don't think last week's was that bad. I think it was just the first 5 to 10 or first half of it wasn't, but the second half was amazing. So I think it balanced out pretty fine.
No, that's pretty much what I thought too. But this was definitely more consistent.
Yeah, I like the top fight thing, especially because I was one of those people. I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for Dante's brother, whose name escapes me. I was saying that weeks ago, and I was like he's screwed when he comes back because his brother is now over as fuck, and he's gonna come back to But hey, look at that, we were all wrong about that, and he's fine, and it was great, and that's cool. But yeah, I like this match. I actually like Trent's elimination because I don't know if you guys noticed, but he went to grab the rope with his right arm, which is the one I believe he tore the bicep on, and he went to hold on with one arm, but it hurt too much and he let go. So I was like, oh, that's rare, a certain type of selling you don't normally see in AEW. So I was very much a fan of that. Other than that, I thought FTR was great. I love that them in Top Flight were in it from the beginning to the end. I love that Bowens was in it for a very long time too. I wish Caster didn't get eliminated so early, but they got their time to shine. So that was cool. I thought for the most part everyone looked good. I know Santana and Ortiz didn't have the best run in this match, but they at least got protected in wrestling, kayfabe of the eliminated team are the ones that pulled them out, not a team actually still in the match. So that's fine because as much as that feels kind of lazy, that is a wrestling company's attempt at protecting someone. So I accept that. But it does make them look a little silly when they have to go up to Jericho later, and after telling him that he is the one costing them all these opportunities, when now 2 weeks in a row they've lost the Battle Royal. Other than that, I think Danhausen is better off in the Best Friends than the Dark Order. Dark Order is great. Dark Order is Reynolds and Silver right now, and everyone else is really just a bald white guy with a beard. And yes, I know that Silver is also a bald white guy with a beard, but he has more charisma than 90% of the roster, so it offsets it. So I'm actually fine with Danhausen being in there, especially because I think that's what's gonna cause Trent to turn heel at some point in the future, in the next few months. I think Trent's gonna be like, I'm so sick of, even though I'm the guy who brought my mom in a minivan, I'm so sick of the nonsense in this group.
I feel like this isn't even the first time you've sort of predicted a Trent heel turn.
They're hinting at it. It's definitely coming.
I just think that Trent's a dick in real life.
Maybe.
Well, Chuck and Rocky are too. So
I watch BTE. I'm hip. I'm cool.
James, I did want to jump back real quick to a point you made where you weren't sure why Red Dragon was out there. And after the match, they did seem to make up with the Bucks and did so by helping them to eliminate, I think it was Hardwood of FTR. So I think that's why they were out there, to try to be a little bit more of a, hey, these guys aren't so pissed at each other going into Sunday as they were last week.
Yeah, they were just doing what Adam Cole asked them to do last week, which was to get on the same page. Red Dragon didn't do that for the Bucks; they did it for Adam Cole. I don't have a problem with that.
Fair point.
It was really quick, but they did celebrate together. So I think there's that. All right, we'll move on here. Danny kind of spoiled it, but after this, Chris Jericho had a backstage promo where he addressed Eddie Kingston, and then Santana and Ortiz came up to him and gave him a stare and then dapped him up real quick. And then Jericho said that he'll always have their backs. So it was a very short segment, but it leaves me with a lot of intrigue, especially since I'm very invested in Santana and Ortiz. So we'll see where that goes. After that, we had another segment that we're going to spend a while on here, CM Punk promo, because this was another great segment in this feud with MJF. So Punk comes out, and I'm going to quote Excalibur here because I thought he said this very well. Surprised and a bit shaken from last week's promo, which I thought was great. He comes out, he questions MJF's integrity, whether or not this story was true, or saying he thought it was true, but he was wondering if he was being gaslit. And then he lists all the awful things that MJF has done, such as saying awful things about Darby's uncle and Brian Pillman, and then hitting Dean Malenko. And then I thought Shivani made a good point here where as MJF came out once Punk invited him, Shivani said that it seemed like Punk was having trouble finding his words, which I thought was just not only a good point by Shivani, but sublime promo work by Punk. So then Punk tells MJF that he's also done horrible things, and he lists, he said, pouring alcohol down an alcoholic's throat and dumping Paul Bearer's ashes all over Undertaker. And I think the third one was bullying addicts so bad about being an addict that eventually cost him his job.
It legit is the behavior. It's the reason why a decade later, longer than a decade later, I still just I can never fully support Punk. There's always a part of me that if he loses, it's like, he had it coming.
So he then mentions that there was a lot of hate in him at the time, and there's a lot of hate in MJF now. And if he lets it continue, it'll burn MJF up inside. Okay,
got this.
Yes. So Punk then says he looked in the mirror and asked himself if he was a good guy, and he said he sure is trying. Offers MJF his hand, and MJF goes to hug him. And then I said, now I'm just waiting for MJF to kick him in the dick. And he immediately thereafter kicked him in the dick.
Nick, I swear on the cross that is on your forehead that I was just like, yeah, he's about to kick him in the dick. And then less than 2 seconds later, it happened. And I was like, I'm a wrestling god. I get this.
I did the same thing. I went, he's gonna kick him in the nuts, and he kicked him right in the nuts. So then he hits Punk with the Heat Seeker, pulls his shirt off to show MJF does to show he's wearing a shirt with the picture of him and Punk from when MJF was a child. Spears and Wardlow come out with the Dynamite Diamond ring and the dog collar. FTR comes out shortly thereafter to run interference with security, while MJF hits Punk with the ring, busts him open, and then eventually Spears puts the dog collar on Punk and begins to more or less hang him off the top rope while where am I looking? Yeah, MJF says he is a snake and the devil incarnate, and that he will show that on Sunday before Sammy, Darby, and Sting come out to make the save. There was a lot in this promo, James, but after last week, I wasn't sure we were going to get. And this, I don't want to say it topped it, but it definitely brought this home before the match on Sunday.
I have never cared more about MJF than I have these last 2 weeks. I have never seen more of the potential in MJF than I have in these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, shout out to that fan art that that person in the crowd was holding up of Punk and MJF with the dog collar like around them.
It was great. It was great.
It was very cool.
I think we have I think we're going to end up with a feud that will be talked about for years. I think when people talk about MJF in 10 years, in however many years, people will go back to these promos. People will go back to how he handled himself in this feud. He is working on another level. Punk absolutely delivered tonight. He killed it. He made me feel a connection that I thought would have been manufactured to make this feud feel stronger. But when he compared himself to MJF with how he was a young kid who had a picture with Steve Austin, and then when Steve Austin left, he wasn't mad at Austin. He was mad at the people who were criticizing Austin. and it worked on every level. MJF rubbing Punk's blood all over the picture of the two of them.
Yep.
There was nothing more powerful in wrestling so far this week, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say there won't be anything until maybe the pay-per-view on Sunday. I loved it. It was amazing. MJF, who everybody, wow, MJF, this was him being a baby. Even me last week, I was saying, like, this was his proof to us that he could be a baby face. He reminded us all why he is one of the best heels in wrestling today. And I loved it. He was like, the devil's greatest trick was making the world think he didn't exist. And he says, I'm a snake. I am a snake. It was excellent. It was excellent. I loved Sean Spears being his weird perverted self whenever he hits somebody with a weapon. I loved Wardlow, just like, I guess I'm here too. And I love that Pinnacle remembered that FTR is a member of the group, or members of the group, and beat up the security guards. Still better than 10. 2 weeks later, not dropping it. 10, you sucked at that. But
yeah, he really did.
He really did. But at FTR,
I almost booed him when he came out tonight because I'm so upset about it.
And it was the perfect 1-2 promo from last week to today. And I can't wait for Sunday. Like, every fiber of my marked body makes me want Punk to win. But I also know, my God, what it'll do for MJF if he does win. And Sunday is gonna suck as a fan. I am just prepared to hate myself and MJF after the match.
Oh, no, it'll be great as a fan. It's just the internal struggle of whom to root for is going to suck. Yeah, I did find it interesting because I did want to actually kind of get back to last week's promo that you mentioned. We were all sitting here saying what a great babyface MJF was in that. Somebody on Reddit actually went and found, I think it was on an episode of Dark, Cody Rhodes was doing an interview series, and I think Stardust.
What's his name?
There we
Whatever.
go.
What's his name? Yeah, what's his name was doing a promo series. I think, like I said, I think it was on Dark, and this was back when MJF was still running with him. And MJF told the same story, but he told it like he was an asshole. And I don't think he didn't mention Punk or anything, but he told the same story about being bullied and stuff. And he came off as such a dick telling it. So just to contrast the two things was amazing. It's the same story. One of them I was just like, this fucking schmuck. And the other one went, wow, really kind of feel bad for this kid. And he goes and does this. So I think, for now, that just shows the character of MJF, in kayfabe. Not the character like the character he's playing, but the character of MJF himself. Just, he is the devil incarnate, Chad. Like, and he has been so fucking good at it. But this is top shelf work.
I'm anti James. I'm always the heel guy. I love the heel more than the face almost every time, unless the heel is just stupid. But when you have a heel like MJF, I mean, we said it last week. We almost knew he was gaslighting and manipulating us, but we didn't care. Like, injected in my veins. This has been the best shit I've seen in a long time. I'm with James. The subtle detail of wiping a picture, a TBT picture of Punk and MJF with CM Punk's blood was just chef's kiss. Like, it was beautiful. The whole thing played out wonderfully. I knew he was going to kick him in the dick, as you guys said, almost immediately. As soon as he hugged him, I was like, oh shit, it was phenomenal. I was fangirling.
So Danny, obviously you weren't here last week, and I'm actually interested to know what you thought about. I'm not sure if you saw the promo from last week, but I'm interested to hear what you had to say about both last week's promo and this week's.
Oh, I watched it like 3 fucking times. It's it's the best promo since like the pipe bomb. I can't think of one better between then and now. like Cody's undeniable one comes close. He's this guy. Don't worry about it. He's not important.
What's his name?
But like, there's just been nothing. And that's the thing. Like, I loved that. This is a villain. Like, Punk created his greatest villain. Like, where have we seen that before? Maybe the guy with a, DC related shirt can figure it out. But like, MJF took everyone on a roller coaster last week, and this isn't the first time. Back when what's this guy's name was in the company and was over, and possibly the most over person in the company way back in like 2019. He was friends with MJF, and I remember the inner circle, who are still around to this day somehow, were beating him up, and MJF ran down with the chair, and the crowd went nuts. And then he thought about who he was going to hit with the chair, and the inner circle tried to convince him to hit Cody, but he didn't. He went after them. He saved Cody, and the crowd lost their shit. And MJF played up to him so well. So MJF has always had the ability to be a babyface, which is amazing because he's such a naturally unlikable person. And I mean that in the best possible way, especially he's from Long Island, of course he has that ability, but unlike a lot of people from Long Island, he's still kind of, you like him, he's likable. So I loved it. I thought he did a great job of really just telling an unbelievable story. I kept talking to my friends about it. I was like, this is wrestling. Like, it's not supposed to be this deep. Like, this is insane for wrestling. Like, no disrespect to other great feuds and rivalries of the past, but like, it's not supposed to be this psychologically complex and deep. And, you're not supposed to be able to, you're expecting to go on a certain type of ride when you watch wrestling. And this was a whole nother ride that MJF has taken us on. And, this week, Punk, I don't think he matched MJF's promo from last week, but I think this was the appropriate response to MJF's promo, where Punk didn't just come out and say, well, he's wrong, he's full of shit, he's lying, because it's so much more than that now. Like, maybe in a lesser feud, that's how you handle it, but this is not a lesser feud. I think we'll genuinely look back at this as the feud of the deck. Like, I'm really struggling to think like Gargano Ciampa was great, but like it's never hit this peak like of emotion. And I loved that feud. But like,
it also went a little too long.
Well, yeah, that did.
Well, I mean, injuries got in the way there, but
yeah.
I'd also say that Kenny Hangman was a story that went years and hit a lot of emotional peaks and valleys.
I agree. And wow, look at that. Another AEW rivalry. But like, I don't know, because that one, I don't want to say that it was an easier story to tell, but like, it kind of is easier to tell a story of like friends falling out. We're supposed to, we were bringing two like, mega powers from separate places together and then connecting it in a way that tells this incredible story where you're kind of like, I know CM Punk's the good guy, but he's kind of a dick. Oh my God. Like, and that's good. Like, a story can be more, it's not just like good versus evil. Like, there can be nuance to it. And, evil can have a reason for being evil, as opposed to like, I know I'm just comparing to like superhero movies, but hell, look at half of the Marvel villains. They're very like one note, doesn't make sense. They're just evil for the sake of being evil. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, here, it's like, wow, look at that. This guy who we never questioned why he was such a dick. We've always just accepted it. But now we have a reason. And now it makes even more sense. And God, this was a home run, like, of a thing. And you know what? The dick kick was very obvious, but one, I thought it was hilarious because it was like the most like nonchalant, like he didn't rep, he just like casually stuck out his leg and kicked him. It was the most like I'm too good to kick you in the dick kick I've ever seen.
It was a light pass, not a Pele kick
Yeah.
or a penalty kick.
I think the only guy who would have kicked it lighter would have been Cassidy himself.
Yeah,
But
but the hug felt genuine. That hug felt real.
Yeah.
But felt like that meant a lot to MJF. It wasn't just like it doesn't matter what you say. This means nothing to me. I'm always going to beat you up. Everything Punk said meant something to MJF. Everything MJF said last week meant something to Punk. And just because MJF did the obvious heel thing and beat him down after, it doesn't mean that hug didn't mean everything to MJF. I do believe that was at least 90% genuine. And
the fact that he idolized Punk, and like you said, Punk is still kind of a dick himself still, brings so much complexity. Like, have you guys ever seen The Incredibles? I know everyone's seen The Incredibles. Syndrome and Miss Incredible, like it's just there.
I like
it's so vivid.
I love that, Chad. That was great.
Thank you.
I do want to jump in the chat here because I thought Dragoon had a pretty interesting take here where he said, it's hard for me to care about Wardlow going face after my man just watched an old man get hung like that. First of all,
he said UFC legend get hung.
Oh, Lord.
First of all, it's hanged. People are hanged. A picture is hung. It's like my one grammar Nazi thing. But anyway, I mean,
Dragoon,
part of this.
Thank you for waiting until March.
I think we're kind of jumping ahead a bit here in the show.
I didn't want to talk about it until we got to that promo. We weren't ignoring you, Dragoon.
Yeah, but I mean, let's jump ahead to that. So after,
hold on. D-Star CM Punk did get played like a bitch, but I think it was a genuine, like, his heart felt like a bitch after everything too. So I get it. I get it.
No, I mean, Danny's right. Like, that was probably cathartic for both of them, that hug. Absolutely. But then once like MJF got out of his system, it was back to business, which is being the devil.
I want to highlight, not to be too much on CM Punk's balls, but I also want to highlight that, like Danny said, MJF is just doing what he does, and CM Punk is just doing what he can about it, and it just makes MJF look amazing. Thank you.
That was wow. That hit me right here.
Like the control and like the conciseness of it is just. I'm fanboying again. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rev.
Yeah. No, you're right. MJF is clearly in the driver's seat here. But let's move on because we got a few more things, and we're starting to run out of time here. So after this, we had Keith Lee, another quick backstage promo with Ricky Starks of Powerhouse Hobbs to hype up both the match on Rampage and the Face of the Revolution match on Sunday, where James is going to get his big meaty man slapping me.
Only kinda.
Mostly. We got a couple twigs in there.
You need twigs for them to throw around. Like,
one twig is fine, but the next match is going to be Christian versus who?
Konya. The dude from Men of the Year, ain't it?
Oh, Ethan.
Not
Page.
Scorpio. Ethan, yeah.
That is now 2. We are past the limit, and I'm getting worked up.
Well, and Orange Cassidy's in, so you're gonna have 3.
And Cassidy.
Yeah. And if Cesaro don't show up in this match, he's gonna throw more of a fit than he already just did. All right, so after that promo, we had Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Jamie Hayter against Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez. I didn't have much to say about this match, except the ending was pretty important. Thunder Rosa pinned Britt clean in the middle of the ring. So that seems like a big deal heading into their match on Sunday for the title. But, I mean, not an unremarkable match, but, well, I guess an unremarkable match because I have no remarks about it. After that, we had Sammy with the cue card setting up the match for, again, Friday and Sunday. Quick Jade Cargill Ty Conti promo backstage with Anna. Also setting up their match for Sunday. A lot of things for Sunday, obviously, with this being the go-home show. But now we get into Wardlow, which is what we wanted to talk about a minute ago. So we had Wardlow versus Cesar Bononi, which ended a lot quicker than I was kind of expecting. Wardlow's past few matches have been a bit tougher, and Cesar is a dude of size. I thought this was going to be a few minutes. It ended before I could get out of the kitchen, so that was interesting. But what was more interesting was what happened after and then backstage. So Sean Spears went for the chair shot on a down Cesar, as he has been doing recently, and Wardlow grabbed the chair from Spears' hand. And they got into a stare down. And this is where I thought Spears' facial acting was amazing. Mm-hmm. He was like, confident that against Wardlow. And then Wardlow stepped to him and his face went from confident to pure fear. So just great acting out of him. They go into the back. A couple other things happen, which we'll get into in a minute. Mainly just the House of Black promo. But we have the backstage promo where MJF comes over and tells Wardlow that if he wins the Face of the Revolution match and then the TNT title match, he'll let Wardlow keep the title.
He'll let him keep it.
Yeah. And it was right before that. It was right before that my TV froze and I didn't actually see this promo, so I watched it on Twitter. But Wardlow then responded with MJF said it's probably not going to happen anyway, to which Wardlow responded, "That's because I'm too busy making sure you're always winning." MJF then came back over, slapped him in the face, and then reminded him that he's not actually contracted to AEW. He works as MJF bodyguard, and he will put him and his family back out on the streets. So, Dragoon, you were wondering why Wardlow's a face? We're building towards one. This is a pretty good example. That and the fact you also have to kind of remember that because of MJF's threats, were he to get involved with the hanging of CM Punk, he gonna get fired, dude. So he's in a tough spot until he powerbombs the shit out of him, and we get that Wardlow is all elite graphic that we still haven't gotten yet.
Have we never gotten that?
I don't know. The Reddit was wondering about it, but even if we have, you got to send it out again. No, I would 100% send it out again.
I agree. This is gonna mess with me. Oh God, I didn't want to be on the internet late tonight. Okay.
I will.
Wardlow Googling for you, James.
I mean, he is me. All right. First of all, we are skipping over Nick. I appreciate that you tried to keep me in check, but we are skipping over the fact that we had Wardlow's meatiest man competition since he's done the whole symphony of power bombs, and it was way too quick. I needed another 5 minutes of Godzilla versus King Kong, but how impressive was it that this man lifted Cesar's giant ass 3 times for power bombs? That is not an easy feat. We are underhyping the magnitude of how amazing this man is. How dare you? First of all, I'm sorry, Nick. I'm looking like a puppy right now.
No, I wasn't trying to. I just wanted to recap everything really quick so we can get into the whole Wardlow situation. But you're absolutely right. That was, like I said, that was way faster than I thought it was going to be. I thought they were going to give them 5 minutes, and they gave them 15 seconds. Like it was such a strong showing for Wardlow. I was in shock.
I love that Wardlow now has the whole thing. It's finally something that fans can actually do for him. Mm-hmm. Oh God, everything it was so quick, but it was so good. It was so friggin' good. And I'm gonna stick on the meaty man thing. I did get a meaty man slapped, but it was by MJF, and it made me feel dirty. It made me feel dirty. This is not what I had in mind when I was talking about it last week. I feel like I'm being spited in some way. Spoted?
No, I think spited is correct.
I don't know.
Spat is a past tense of spit.
I feel spit on. This was terrible. How dare MJF? How dare he? I don't care what the fuck he did to Punk. That slap was out of line. And but for real, I one thing I do, like, I'm obviously having fun with this, but I hate this trope that, like, it comes up in wrestling every once in a while. Like every few years they do this whole, you don't have any money other than the fact that you're working for me bit. And like, am I really going to believe that Tony Khan just isn't paying Wardlow every time he wrestles? That the only money Wardlow is getting is because he's MJF's bodyguard? if it like I don't know, it feels a little contrived to me, but I'll accept it. I love the soap opera aspect of what wrestling can be, but
Yeah.
it was a little too much. I feel like they didn't really need to go that way. They could have done it in a way that felt a little more natural and gelled a little bit better, but I'm not going to nitpick too much. Overall, I love that I love the story that is being told with Wardlow and MJF, and it is just, we're just waiting for it to finally erupt. And this was, I think, the biggest step we've seen.
Yeah, well, I agree about hating that trope. I think this is slightly better than like, Shawn Michaels or Big Show not having money, because that's like you're fucking stars. Whereas at least Wardlow's like no one knows him yet. Like he's
right.
He just started.
Yeah, it's only his third year and like as a big time company.
So yeah, it's like not. I still don't like it. I do agree with you. It's a shitty trope, but at least it's someone who you can't be like, oh, but you're this giant star. How can you have no money? It's like, well, now he's more of a star, so now he should kind of be making money. But like, I agree though. It's a shitty trope.
It is shitty. I agree as well. However, I hate it in WWE. I'm kind of on board with it here.
Well, I think that a lot of that has to do with the storytelling.
Yeah, the storytelling is so good that whatever. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. It's cool.
You can take a poor trope and make it, not a better trope, but you can make it acceptable within the story if you tell it right. And that's what's happening here.
I agree. But I really kind of want to just see whatever happens with MJF and Wardlow. MJF fires Wardlow, and then we just, I don't know, we get like a better version of what they were doing with Baron Corbin.
I absolutely think after tonight that Wardlow wins everything. We'll get into that later.
Mark it down on the Mark It Down podcast, whatever today's date is, March
the 2nd.
Wardlow will be a future AEW world champion.
TNT first, but
TNT first. That's totally. But one day Wardlow will win the world championship.
Yeah. And we will be doing our Revolution prediction show, and that'll be out later this week. So keep an eye out for that. A couple notes in the chat here. Dragoon looked it up for you there, James, and he said the graphic was not made. So technically Wardlow is not all elite, according to the all-powerful Twitter.
Oh, sure.
Also, Dragoon with a serious shot at Dana White here. James doubting a promotion where competitors aren't getting paid by their boss like UFC doesn't exist.
we are a wrestling podcast. I do not fear Dana White and his bowling ball head. Bring it on. Thank you, Dragoon, for enlightening me.
I do a little bit. And I did kind of gloss over it because we were trying to get to the Wardlow stuff. But, Danny, you were interacting with D-Star in the chat there about the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I mean, literally just that I thought it was weird that Britt was the one taking the pin, because I really thought, or I still think, that Thunder Rosa is winning at the pay-per-view. So I don't know. I feel like that's kind of weird if you're going to pin her twice in a week. I think that's not a good move. But I also don't want 50-50 booking. So now I'm just at a, like, what do we do now? Like, situation.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. If Britt does win, it does feel like a very WWE move where they always have the challenger pin the champion in a tag team match, like right before, to be like, oh, look, she can totally win, or he could totally win. And then they go and lose. And that would just be, speaking of tropes we don't like, that would just be unfortunate.
I think it's even more bizarre because you had Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Martinez right there.
Yeah,
you could
pin tattooed Tamina. Like, what the hell? Like,
either way, like, you don't even need Thunder to be involved. You could have fuck. You could have
Tamina.
Mercedes pin Hayter. You could have Hayter pin Mercedes.
Tattooed Tamina.
Yeah, it's gonna fuck with me. Tattooed Tamina.
There we go.
I just can't speak. Damn it.
Toy boat.
Anyway, you didn't need them involved in this whatsoever. And weird move. But
yeah, it's just
whatever.
weird.
Yeah. I mean, we all figured, okay, the two of them are out there for one of them to take the pin, Hayter and Martinez like this. And then neither of them do in the championship.
I
All
will say-
Martinez should be for.
I will say there was one thing that the camera really didn't catch that I think might be telling for what's coming for Sunday, which is something we've talked about in the past. The referee's holding Thunder's hand up, and then she kicks Britt while she's down. And we know that they have a lot of heat because they've been rivals in the past, and it led to a lights out match, which was arguably AEW's best lights out match. And you could just view it as, all right, that heat is still there, or you could view it as a sign of what might happen on Sunday, which come check out our Revolution predictions post and we'll get into it there.
Teaser. Good shit. All right, let's finish up here with the main event of the evening. The champion, Hangman Adam Page, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. Just so we got every member of the Dark Order on the show today. Against the not undisputed era of Adam Cole, Bebe, Fish, and O'Reilly. So this was a fun match. I thought the most notable thing about it was for the majority of the match, Adam Cole wasn't involved in the match, especially when Page was there. And then the second I typed that, Hangman lured him in after he wiped out Red Dragon. So my point was immediately moot. So it ended with Adam Cole pinning Reynolds for the win and then starting to beat him down. Heyman came in for the save. He sets up Cole for the buckshot, but then Fish takes him out on the apron. Red Dragon then duct taped Page to the ropes. John Silver came in, but he was already beat to shit. So he got high load, and then Reynolds tried to come in, and he got Panama Sunrise. Cole takes the title, starts to rub it in Page's face, and gets a headbutt for his troubles. And then Page eats a bunch of super kicks while still tied up. And it ends with Cole and Red Dragon standing tall and Cole holding the title. So this was, our setup or our last setup for Revolution and this title match. I think last week in Story Time with Adam Page, Bebe, did a lot better to set it up than this. But, I mean, there was a lot of things that went on in this show. So I feel like, Chad, this ended up being a bit overshadowed.
A bit. But what I will say is, though, for this to culminate in such a short time to become this feud, I'm still pretty excited. I mean, last week is what sealed the deal for me, of course. And this week did, fall a little bit short or flat, rather. But I'm still super excited for this. I mean, I love seeing Paige all the time. Everyone knows I want to see the Dark Order every week if I can. The match was cool. No hiccups, really. It was just, it was all right, but I'm still excited.
He says begrudgingly, I'm excited.
I'm still excited.
No, I mean, yeah, it was one of those things where, like, it was a well-wrestled match. It has some fun spots. It was like that whole line brawl they did towards the end, which was cool. Right. That's a hockey term, kids, for those of you who don't watch hockey. It was a very well-wrestled match. It had the good, through story of Cole not wanting to get involved, Danny, but, it didn't, even the aftermath of it didn't seriously hype me up for that match, even though I'm still sufficiently excited.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it is our feelings about this match does not affect our excitement for the match at the pay-per-view. I didn't care about that. It was a good match, but like it didn't do anything for me that all the previous week setup hadn't already done. And I feel like that was the story of this show for the most part, besides the Punk MJF stuff, whereas everything just felt like almost like a cool down heading into the pay-per-view. Whereas like last week, I felt like every single story was more exciting than this week. But like this week was still good, so I'm not trying to say, but it's just I think last week's Dynamite was like a top 3 Dynamite we've had like ever. So
it really was that good.
For this to come, like it just feels like it's like you can't do that every week. So this is still a good Dynamite. It's just everything. It's just a little bit less interesting, but it doesn't matter. Revolution's going to be so good. So this was just a fine classic 6-man tag to end a Dynamite. Like, that's fine. It was good.
I guess I can agree with you on Dynamite, where it feels like half of the stories more or less culminated last week, and then the other half culminated this week. And maybe that's a good thing, so that, like, you know, not everything is I'm going to use the word culminate again. Not everything is culminating on the same week, so that, like, some things get lost in the shuffle, where some things got their time last week and some things got their time this week, and everyone has had a nice 2-week build to the pay-per-view. But maybe this, what Page said last week, maybe he should have said this week, and it would have led into the pay-per-view better. So I can understand that argument. James, I've saved you for last because I just wanted to really point out that Silver and Reynolds really didn't hold back on their boy Budge, and then Budge just straight up betrayed them. What is this?
Is it a betrayal if he's just he actively hates them? Like, how much of a betrayal is that?
But he still sleeps with them.
I mean, I think if you guys watch BTE, there was a very real fear that Silver and Reynolds were going to have a live sex celebration with Cole. And I think Cole definitely dodged a bullet. I think Hangman dodged a bullet. And I don't know if the audience did. Who knows? AEW is a very open company. But the match itself, the story wasn't about the match. The story was about what happened after the match. And all the things I complained about with the Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter tag match against Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez, they did right here. Here, you have the two people who are going to be wrestling on Sunday not involved in the finish. Cole gets the win, sure, looking good for Sunday, but he did it by pinning one of the Dark Order members. So Hangman's still protected. Cole looks good. And then you really are driven to be mad at Cole because he's taking out these two lovable guys that are Silver and Reynolds, all while making poor Hangman watch. This was how you build on a go home. The match itself, I agree, everybody. The match itself was whatever, but the match was to get us to the true segment, which was what happened after the bell rang. I agree with something Chad said. This was a feud that, for as quick as it happened, I'm still very invested in it. And I think it speaks to how good Hangman and Cole are. I understand wanting to end this feud, or wanting to lead into the pay-per-view with what we did last week, which was story time with Hangman, baby. But you got to believe that Cole could be a threat. And tonight showed why he's a threat. He's a sneaky, conniving son of a bitch. And that's who he's going to be in that match. And as cool as last week's segment was, it wouldn't have given me any reason to think Cole belongs in the match the way tonight did. So that's just my 2 cents.
No, well said. That made me think differently.
Yeah, same. That's a very fair point. I don't know. Maybe I've just seen the duct tape the thing, guy to the ropes thing a few many times, but
tonight,
it drove the point home. It drove the point home.
As great as tonight was a night of tropes. And some were good, some were bad, but it's like you said, sometimes a bad trope can be used well in a story or in a situation, and I think tonight was an example of that. So, or at least this segment was.
Yeah. So can we address Dragoon in the comments? He said mid-dragon twice, but no House of Black once. Very sad, James.
Why is it me? I like House of Black. Why am I getting crapped on here?
I don't know.
Also, for the record, they did have they had their promo. The House of Black did. They had the vignette with the Buddy and also, Brody.
Mid-Dragon or Me-Dragon, I don't know how you want to pronounce that, Dragoon, but they're, in a higher profile feud right now than House of Black, who are feuding with, like, Penta and Pac, that sounds really weird to say. Oh, man, that's not a high profile feud, but, like, they're, they'll have their time. Like, I'm excited for whatever they're going to do next, so they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
And their vignette was cool. Like, I'm not going to sit here and
It
pretend
was.
it wasn't.
Oh, it was.
It
It
was.
was.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think unless anybody has anything else, that about wraps things up here on the live edition of the Market Down podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I will get all the socials in the description as soon as I can, but be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep an eye out for both our continued discussion on Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor, our podcast later this week, and our Revolution predictions. So thank you.
There might also be a sacrifice prediction video. We'll see. I don't know. We'll talk.
Please, James, if you want to do it, I will gladly edit it. You're slowly bringing me into the Impact world there. So
Working. It's
yeah.
guys, please, guys.
I did the one review and dragging me in. So everybody, thank you so much for watching and participating in the chat. And we'll see you right here next time.